Greetings, Skill Incarnate bringing you all the latest indie gaming goodness. If you ask me what my favourite novel of all time is, it's Frank Herbert's Dune. A series that touches on everything from religion to politics to transhumanism. This is a series that has stood the test of time, and with the release of a new movie, there is also a licensed game. Licensed games are often low quality cash grabs, so my hopes weren't high. Thankfully, Dune Spice Wars is everything I would have hoped for in a Dune 4X strategy game, with all of the races and locations represented in loving detail. The game really pays homage to Herbert's work and takes a bit of inspiration from the new movie as well. We're going to play the first part of the campaign as I try to control Arrakis, because the spice must flow. We have access to all of the major factions on Arrakis, from the Noble Atreides to the Treacharous Harkonen, the morally grey smugglers, and the Mysterious Fremen. I like to play the Atreides because they match my playstyle the closest and they work really well with the Fremen. Next, we have a choice of Counsellors. We've got Lady Jessica the Bene Gesserit, who can use her Bene Gesserit powers to influence other factions, Duncan Idaho, who can help us make friends with the Fremen, Thufir Hawat the Mentat, who can allow us to field additional spies on Arrakis, and Gurney Halleck, who gives us a number of military benefits. Personally, I like to use Lady Jessica and Duncan Idaho to get in good with the local factions and try to befriend the Fremen without too much bloodshed, as is befitting House Atreides. We begin the game in Arrakeen, which is the capital of Arrakis.
Okay, let's go.
Our goal is simply to survive, to expand, and to locate the spice. The spice controls all, the spice extends life, the spice must flow. And to that end, we are going to need to locate the Fremen camps and to win them over to our side. Now, being I am the Atreides, we're going to try and take a mostly non-violent approach. But I'm training up some units because the Harkonnen are also in the area, and they have a somewhat more violent approach. They're going to turn up in every village and they're just going to start blasting. We're going to try and annex, mostly peaceful annexing. Now, we can't do that for the first village. We will have to take it over by force, but I'm going to try and, because the Atreides' main ability is to They gain trust. They talk to the villagers, they gain the trust of the Fremen, and they work together. Which is exactly what I'm going to try and do.
Awaiting command.
But for now, we need this village. We don't have much choice.
Ready. On vector.
And these guys were dumb enough to start a fight right inside my territory where I can bombard them. So I'm going to continue exploring the surrounding area.
Awaiting orders.
Very nice. So we've taken over our first village, and this means that we can now set up a refinery and begin to gather the spice.
We are ready.
Received.
Okay, we've got worm sign. We've got to get out of here. So worm sign is basically the aerial units telling us that there is activity from the Shai Hulud, the great worm of the desert, the maker of spice, but also a deadly foe to anyone who walks upon the sand. In fact, you'll probably notice that the worms will turn up shortly after any pitched battle, which means waging war is very dangerous. But we don't have much choice. We got to do it. The Harkonnen are here, the smugglers are here, and of course the Emperor demands the spice. So we have to take over all of these villages and get the spice so we can pay the Emperor his taxes. Eventually we're gonna initiate a hostile takeover of the Emperor's operation, but for now we have to play nice.
At your service, sir.
So with the first village under our control, we can now build a refinery, which we're going to build as close to the spice field as we can.
Yes, sir.
Excellent.
Yes, sir. Waiting for your order.
Now we've got 2 ornithopters. Ornithopters are our scouting units.
Okay, let's go.
They're used for expanding our area of influence and finding out where the useful resources are.
Okay,
Any unit
let's
that
go.
walks into an area such as this that hasn't been explored will meet a swift and brutal death. Any unit that is exploring an area that isn't under your faction's control will also die after a certain period of time.
Service, sir.
So, unit positioning in this game is really vital. We need to control as much of the area as we can, and more importantly, the certain fields that are in the area. There are resource deposits that are absolutely vital. In addition to the spice, we'll need to find sources of plascrete, and we'll need to find some of the other resources in the game. So in terms of resources, we've got the Solari, which is basically the standard coin of the Empire. You've got plascrete, which is basically universal building material. You've got your manpower, which is basically your unit cap. You've got fuel cells, which basically are used to construct any of the advanced buildings and units. And finally, you've got water and authority. Now, water is very important for obvious reasons, and also because it's so rare. If your water does go into the negative, you risk a revolt.
Roger that.
Now, I don't need to tell you how important it is to keep that in the green. Authority is used, but think of it as the amount of sway we've got over the local area. We can use it to convince factions to trade with us. We can use it to... Oh, we've got our first harvester as well. Let's deploy that. We can use it to a number of things. In our case, we're going to be using it to sway the local factions to join our cause. Now, the Atreides have the peaceful annexing ability. Basically, it's a mostly peaceful annex that has us convince the village to join our cause without having to roll in and blast them all. This village has a very useful resource in the form of minerals, and I'm taking this over so we can set up a refinery to refine these minerals into plascrete. Now we've got some spice. We can either sell the spice off or we can stockpile it. Now, for obvious reasons, I'm stockpiling as much as I can because every few days the Emperor is going to come in wanting his cut, his tax of the spice, and if we can't meet that, then we're going to end up with some Sardaukar rolling up on us and taking it by force. For now, we have to play nice. Eventually, we're going to turn the tables. Now, we are in a very fortunate location here. Most of the main resources we need are right next to our home base. So we've got some elements which we can use to mint coins, Solari. We've got the plasteel and we've got the spice. We've got a second spice field over here, which we're absolutely going to try and get our hands on.
Waiting for your order.
But for now, we will continue our search. More importantly, I need to find out where the other factions are, so I can preempt where we're going to be attacked from. Seeing this enemy ornithopter tells me that there's probably an enemy faction somewhere to the south, and I need to start beefing up my defences here. So we've got a full research tree, and there's a lot of useful abilities here, but I often find myself getting the water-based abilities first. I always run out of water. So we're going to try and set that up as soon as we can. And we're looking good. So we've got one village with the spice. We've got another village where we're going to be constructing a plascrete factory. In the third region, we'll take over to get ourselves some Solari. If we can keep this area, I think we're going to be in a really good position. Now, we're in the corner of the map too. We can only be attacked from 3 different directions, so it's going to make it a little bit easier to defend. And if we are going to be attacked, it's probably going to come from here. We've got another agent. Now, agents are our spies. They're very useful. They can be used for a number of really useful applications. I'm going to be using my spy to explore the various points of interest on Arrakis, because this is going to get us intel, and intel is another resource that can be used to get influence with the other factions. It has a number of uses, but mainly it's used to help you in your dealings with other factions. Speaking of which, we have 3 different factions here. I'm going to have a chat with the Fremen because they're my boys. Let's set up a trade agreement, which will give us a very nice boost to our Solari. I am going to try and sign a non-aggression pact with the Fremen.
On duty.
And hopefully form an alliance with them. I like to work with the Fremen.
Yes, sir. Okay.
We're very lucky that the Fremen we are up against have just been your standard villagers and not the Fadakeen or some of the elite warriors, otherwise our soldiers would not stand a chance. Very nice. We've got a lot of resources here. All we can do at the moment is wait. Now I'm going to set up a water collector next. A wind trap, and that's going to let us gather some water. We're going to need that to take over additional villages, and I like to have a couple of them, or at least one of them in each village. We're pulling down some nice resources at the moment.
Waiting for your order.
Looking good, looking good. Now it is slow going in the early game.
Okay.
This is a very slow-paced game, at least at the start. And it's at least in the early game, you're not going to be doing a hell of a lot of combat. Let's water extractor building. Let's build that. Now the Emperor is going to take his first cut of our spice, and luckily we've mined a fair bit. We got a nice cushion there. So he can take our spice for the moment, but we're gonna that amount is gonna go up every time, and eventually, if we don't get more spice fields, we're not going to be able to pay the tax. And we've got enough problems here on Arrakis without Sardaukar coming for us.
Sir? Ready.
Very nice. So what I can do now is train some heavy weapons soldiers. And I'm also going to, in this village, seeing as we took it over by force, I'm going to replenish the militia. Nice. We don't ever want to leave any village unattended. Especially villages that have spice fields, because the enemy will attack them relentlessly. So we've nearly annexed our next village. And we've got enough to do another one. Nice. Another agent. So we'll get that agent working on Arrakis too. And there are a number of these different points of interest we can explore, and they'll give us a number of different benefits. Whether that's money, Solari, spice, there can be caches of resources or information on the other factions. Now we've got this next village, we can build ourselves a Plascrete factory. And that's going to start pumping out Plascrete, and because of this patch of minerals, we get a 50% boost, which is very sizable. Excellent. Now, every few weeks, the Laansrad, basically think of them as the ruling houses of the universe. They will join and they will vote on a number of different points, and we want to have a look and see which ones of these policies will benefit us the most. I'm thinking Imperial propaganda because I want as much authority as I can. The authority will give me extra villages. So we can actually annex another village, which I'm thinking would be here. I can't yet, I need a little bit more authority. That's okay,
Yes,
we've been explosively expanding.
Okay,
Far quicker than I was expecting. Although slower than if I was playing this game seriously. It's this game requires a lot of concentration, and a lot of the tooltips that pop up, if you're not paying attention, it can result in you losing large amounts of resources or men. Okay, we've got a sandstorm incoming.
okay, let's go.
Sandstorms can cause your ornithopters to crash,
Okay, let's go.
so we're going to get them the hell out.
Roger that. On vector.
I won't explore that area yet.
Ready. Okay. Yes, sir.
We'll explore in this area.
Sir. On vector.
Okay, sandworm is detected. We need to recall our harvester. The other thing that can attract the worm is if you're doing harvesting or building activities, it can actually, in any really loud voice, any loud sound, it will attract the worm. They're attracted to rhythm, so it's just a matter of getting in, getting what you can, and then getting out.
We're going out.
We can send our harvester back. If you watch the sand, you can tell when the worms have gone. Okay, next thing we're gonna... There we go. We've unlocked all of the water-based structures, and we'll eventually be able to build those up. And you can see now we've got a massive increase in Plascrete. Very nice.
All clear.
So the next location we want to control is this one here. It's right up against the wall, so it's going to be easy to defend, and spice fields are very hotly contested areas, so we want to try and control these as early as we can, stockpile up the spice, and if we run out or we run over spice, we can start selling it to Chome for a massive bonus. So we found, another spice
Waiting for
field.
your order. On the move.
Now this one will probably This one will probably get taken over by the other faction. It's really far out of my area of influence, where our better approach would be to go to this one. So for now, we're gonna... What does it take to annex this village? Nice, we can do it. So we'll start annexing this village. It would be nice to annex both. I should have done this one as well. But it's okay. Excellent. So now we've got a very nice stockpile of resources. We've got 2 patches of spice, and we've got some plascrete, and eventually we'll get some money, Solari, that we can print from these minerals here. This village is nearly annexed, and we've had a pretty good run. It's just a matter of continuing to expand our units.
Received.
Let's get our men onto off the sand and onto the stone. Any building in the game, you'll notice you can only build on areas that are stone, because Shire loot can't bust through.
Sir?
So the Ornithopters have found another village.
Ready. Roger that. Okay, let's go.
And this is, we've actually got a really nice layout here, where we're right up against the edge of the map, so that we can basically defend along this line here, capture all the villages and outfit them with units, and really hunker down. Now, graphically, this game isn't the most impressive, and I mean, I honestly, I wasn't too worried about it. I think more importantly for me was the authenticity, was the how close is this game to the source material? Does it respect the source material? Was it designed by a developer who really understands Herbert's work? And it's very obvious that the developer is a big fan of Frank Herbert's vision, because all of the buildings and a lot of the language is very close to that which is used in the books. So next thing we need is a processing plant. A structured warehouse. Okay, I don't have that yet. That's okay. What we can do in the meantime is build a wind trap. We're going to want... Actually, can I build something more efficient? Water extractor. Okay, I need a special region. That's okay. For now, we'll stick with the basics. The wind trap will get us some water. As you can see that we've got a little bit, but not as much as I'd like. We're pumping out spice. Our ornithopters are busy expanding and exploring the area. And we've located a number of different spice fields that we can exploit.
Okay.
Now we've got an additional agent, we can start messing with the local factions, and I don't know who to target, because we haven't really been attacked yet. So I'm gonna assign my agent to counterintelligence.
Yes, okay.
And that's hopefully going to prevent the other factions from attacking me or basically making my life hard. The next village we want to annex is this village here, Aishnit, because it has a source of energy. We need a little bit more authority though. So the next Laansrad Council, we have the option of industrial regulation, which will give us 30% Plascrete, but with a higher upkeep. Military service, which will decrease the unit cost for military units, and minus 30% influence production. We do not want that. Influence we want as high as possible, because that's the main statistic that's used for annexing villages. Okay, nice. So we got plenty of water. We've secured a nice water source. And all we need to do is wait for our influence to get high enough to annex this village, and then we can set up a fuel cell factory.
How is Arrakis treating you?
Now, I don't see anything that the Fremen can offer, and it appears the prices are definitely far too high, so we'll just stick with a treaty for now. We're doing quite well. I would like to get a third patch of spice, but we don't want to overextend. I'm going to make sure we've got all of the various resources. So we've got an event here. A bright politician has come to your attention. There's a mutual gain somewhere. Gain 100 influence, or gain 1 new agent with the... we get elected to 1 positive resolution. So that means that the Laansrad Council agrees with one of our votes. Or we build 2 statecraft buildings. I think I'm going to go with this option here. Given our monetary situation is not very good, I'm going to try and build up some more villages. What we can do now is look for abilities that are going to help us control more villages. Village construction costs. Oh, here we go. 0.2 knowledge per controlled village. I think that's going to be very good. Administrative hall. Command post. Actually, let's go with the command post. That's going to help us to expand. Okay, so we've now got our second village, and the second village has its own spice field, meaning we now have 2 sources of spice. But we need... That's okay. We need a... To control this village, we now need a fuel cell plant, which we've got right here. Very nice. So, by annexing these villages, we don't need to pay for units because the villages weren't attacked, and all of the units in the village have joined our cause. So here we want to try and sway the vote. I desperately do not want my influence going down. Now you have a number of different points that you can use to influence the Laansrad. We've got 100 points here. And I'm going to vote against the Diplomatic Congress because that's going to decrease my influence production by 30%. And influence is the main resource we use to annex more villages. So let's see if that goes through. I don't care too much about the other laws. I can live with those. Our ornithopters are hard at work.
On vector. Okay.
and we want to try and uncover all of these villages, and more importantly, find out where the enemy is. Because they're going to launch attacks. They're going to try and use spies on us. They've got a number of really nasty options to make our life very hard. I need to wait for this village to be annexed so I can build the power cores. Very nice. We're doing quite well. Now I haven't gone over into this corner yet because I was convinced I'd be attacked, and I wanted to clear the surrounding area to make sure this spice field was safe.
Ready. Waiting for your order.
So let's head up to the right here, and we'll begin searching this area because it is close to our hometown. Excellent. So we were able to sway the vote to stop the diplomatic congress, which means that our influence gain rate will remain the same. Very nice. Very nice. Oh, we got worm sign. Get out of there. Now, one of the things I would have liked to see, I'm going into software testing mode here for a moment, is a bit of a bigger alert when these events are happening. They kind of pop up, and the first few times it happened, I missed them because this is a very noisy UI. There's a lot going on here.
We're going out. We're going out.
And it would be good to have something that's a little bit more visible, a pop-up that's a bit more animated. Something that will inform you that an event is happening. More importantly, even a voice event, because you just get a kind of a sound cue that it doesn't tell you. Usually in other real-time strategy games, it would say that your units are being attacked, they've entered battle. There's a sandworm nearby. There's no visual. There's no audio cue. And it means that sometimes you're going to miss out. Something's going to happen, and by the time you do something about it, then your unit's already dead. So the next thing I want to do is to trade some of our leftover plascrete with the Fremen to see if they're willing to buy some. So I'm not getting a good return here, but it will have to do. I can also buy spice, but I've got a pretty big surplus of spice. There we go. So thanks to my plascrete factory, I'm getting so much plascrete I can start selling the excess to the Fremen. We just need to wait a little longer to annex that village, and then we can actually set up another ornithopter. But I'm not going to do that yet because we need fuel cells for that. All units have an upkeep value too, so you want to make sure you're only fielding the units you need and you don't go overboard. Because it's very easy for these values to nosedive. A travelling salesman is looking for new markets. There may be some mutual gain to be found. Gain 500 Solari, we can do that. 2 economy buildings, or pillage 2 villages or sieges. I really don't want to pillage. I'm willing to lose that benefit because at the very least it's probably not in line with the Atreides approach. I'm trying to roleplay as Atreides. We're not going to be douchebags. We're not going to roll up on Fremen villages and blow away everyone inside.
Sir?
Maybe when I'm playing Harkonnen I'll go for that approach.
On vector. All clear.
So we've actually got another
On the move.
spice patch here.
Roger
We've
that.
got such a rich area. This is actually a really nice map,
Okay.
and the location is really on our side.
Okay, let's go.
So the Fremen are in this location, and I think we'd better annex this village as soon as possible, because if we don't, the Fremen are going to take it.
Waiting for your order. Okay.
So we're annexing the village because the Fremen are going to expand, and they're probably going to take this village over if we don't do something about it.
Roger that.
Now I don't have a problem with the Fremen. We've been trading with them, and I think they're friendly with us for the moment. But on the other hand, I want that cash, and I'm getting it. They're not taking it off me. Recon speed, or support structures, or military threat. 1% of your unit's total power is produced as influence. That actually looks really good. So we're going to do that next, because that's going to allow me to generate influence with my military units.
We're going out.
Now we've got a new village, we can build ourselves a fuel cell factory. And we're just going to get a massive bonus because we've got a source of energy, and then we can turn that energy into additional fuel cells which we can use to construct a refinery up here. We're doing really well. In fact, this is probably the best run I've had so far. We've got we've got two areas we control for Spice. With the third on the way, we've got a plasteel area and a Solari mine, and we've got a source of energy. The more important question, the more pertinent one, is whether we can control it.
Let's get to business.
That's actually a pretty good deal. 700 for 436 Solari. Yeah, I'll take that. So now we've got a ton of Solari. We can start using this to train some additional soldiers. Oh, we've got some combat going. Time to
At your service, sir. Need to blow something up?
time to get in there. So a raiding party has. I think we will win this, but I'm not willing to take any chances. We're going to send our forces in.
Yes, sir. For the Duke.
These guys should hopefully be able to hold them back long enough for our forces to arrive. And we're going to train some more militia. Yeah, it's going to be a close thing, but they just need to hold on long enough for our main soldiers to arrive and mop them up. More importantly, this has shown that we need our base is not well defended enough, so I'm going to build some additional units. And we've got some agents. I think what I might do is send some agents in to keep an eye on the smugglers. Again, I'm not looking to start anything.
We are ready. We'll breach their defenses.
Yeah, we are losing. But it's okay, these guys did what they needed to do. Okay, so now we've got
We are ready. Let's go.
very nice. So we've actually reached our first threshold for hegemony. That's another resource that I didn't mention. It's basically the resource which will allow us to upgrade our main capital city. Now all of these upgrades are massively expensive. Huge cost. but as you can see, we're actually rapidly approaching the point where we may be able to afford them. Now we're getting fuel cells, we can finally build our secondary refinery. And we've got the next Laansrad vote. Solari upkeep, so that means it'll be cheaper. Our upkeep costs will go down. Infiltration levels are reduced by 2. That means that spies will be harder to use. And military development speed is increased by 50%. Now I'm actually going to go for upkeep. And military, because I am going to start going on the offensive. We're getting attacked a lot. Oh, and we've got a storm. Need to move my men away from the storm.
Sir?
And my ornithopters as
Okay,
well.
let's go. Yes, sir. Waiting for your order. On the move. All clear. Okay.
Now, storms are deadly to ornithopters. We need to move them. They are deadly to units.
On vector.
Any unit that is sequestered inside a town is relatively safe. So we're just going to let that storm blow on by. Nice. So we've done quite well.
At your service, sir.
Heavy weapon at your service. Go, go, go.
Now our units, we actually haven't annexed this village here in our hurry to control the region.
Heavy weapon at your service.
We didn't annex this village, and that meant my men were going to die if they remained in that area. I've just moved them to safety.
We're going out.
And we've finally got a nice setup with 2 spice fields, plasteel, power, and a coin printing press. Plus we've got a nice water supply, although it's getting a little low. We'll need to build some additional water collectors, but I think that's enough of an introduction to the game. As always, if you want to see more of Dune Spice Wars, I would love to play this again. I'd love to continue this campaign and maybe even play as some of the other factions. I heartily recommend this game. It's an incredibly detailed strategy game. It really pays the respect to Herbert's vision, and it's just nice to see a licensed game that isn't a cash grab. It's not the bare minimum. The developer really respects the IP, and the reviews on Steam show it. Everyone loves this game, including me. Highly recommended. I hope you enjoyed this first view at the game. Thank you to the developer for the review copy, and hopefully you'll join me next time when we look at another indie game. Until then, Skill Incarnate, out.